Welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast with me, Rebecca Wilson. An embodied experiential space for you to drop deep into the wealth of wisdom within your being and activate a fuller, richer you. I am a feminine awakener, thought leader, embodied business doula, sacred business midwife, healer, and all-round medicine woman. I am here to guide women deeper into their essence and power, to activate their life force, awaken pleasure, and support them to live an embodied life. I will help you birth your visions, dreams, creations, desires, and sacred business into the world from an easeful, embodied, and rooted place within. My work supports women to become more available for life, love, relationship, connection, creation, pleasure, and wealth. I will activate you into self-leadership and self-mastery to truly live an embodied and awakened life. Welcome on the journey, my love. Hello, beautiful ones. It's so good to be here, and I'm super excited to share this time and this episode with Claire. So welcome, Claire.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Claire is a coach, a mentor, and an educator. And she's working with women to shine brighter, to take up space and express their full, authentic self in life, in relationship, in leadership, supporting them to expand in their role in leadership whilst staying connected to body and nervous system and taking care of themselves, which in turn allows them to take care and support those around them. Maybe it's their team members, maybe it's their family members. So welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's so lovely to be here. Thank you.
So we actually met in a shared mastermind journey that we had together with Pandora. And yeah, there was just so many moments in that journey together where we were having these experiences and unraveling quite deeply in our own leadership, in our business, in our creations. And I just felt so resonant with you at times with your own shares and the pearls of wisdom that you brought in at times where I was maybe in my own little crumble or the questioning times of business and leadership. So it just felt so aligned to be here together.
Yeah, same.
So when we were talking, we were feeling into what is the message that we wanted to bring through today. And it's the resourced woman, the rooted and resourced woman. And what does that mean? So I wonder what that means to you, first of all.
So, yeah, when I think about the resource woman, for me, it's like being resourced is about the power of feeling connected. It's like the power of feeling connected. And there are different realms that can live in, like being a resource woman is feeling the power of being connected to ourselves, to our bodies, to others, like relationally, to the world. And also, like, really importantly in this word, like, and recently I've really been breaking down the like re-sourced, like source energy, like being connected to the great mother earth and the cosmos, and realizing that we are deeply interconnected beings, and we are wired through millions of years of evolution and life intelligence to need connection and to be in connection. And that is such an essential part of our nature that I think many of us also lose in like the specific culture we might be in, like the conditioning, the society that we live in. And so I think it's a really potent time now to be like talking about this and bringing this in, because so many people are feeling the sense of being under-resourced, where they're actually lacking that feeling, the power of connection. And so it becomes, it's an idea, it's a concept, but it's not something that we're able to embody so much. And I do think that a really important, I think being a resource woman is so much about like reclaiming ourselves and like our homecoming, our sovereignty, and really seeing it as like a radical act, like a counterculture act, because in the world that we live in of colonialism and capitalism, like when we are under-resourced and we are disconnected from the power of feeling ourselves, our bodies, our wisdom, like feeling and embodying that we are children of the earth and having that deeper connection, when we don't have that and we're like divorced from that, like separated, pulled away from that, we feel separate, we move through the world feeling separate. And it's so much easier to be seduced and pulled into the hyper individualism of capitalism and like the competitiveness with life, where we stop feeling that reciprocity with life and other people as an extension of life. Like we are all life living itself. And I think when we lose that real power of feeling resourced, our perspective of ourselves as being like self-reliant and individuals, separate individuals, and seeing the world and other people as things that we need to compete with to like get the things we need and feel whole, all of that is part of this picture. And so it's a really important thing for ourselves, but also I think for our world and our society, like reclaiming our like sense of being resourced is also a really powerful like political act, actually.
Yeah, beautiful. I often speak into a thread of that actually, and like I've just come off retreat last weekend, and it's always just such a powerful time, 4 days with women, and we're talking and sharing. And this real strong piece of wisdom was coming into the space over and over. And it's like, if we all take radical responsibility for our own state of being, and however we label that, whether it's taking care of our own nervous system, taking care of our own emotional landscape and ecosystem, taking care of our own resourced state of being, that is all we need to do. And if everyone takes care of that within themselves, the world and how we relate to ourselves, and through that relation to self, other, would be radically altered. Of course, the only caveat in that is children, because they are, we are meant to take care of them until a certain point in time. And that's the right relationship to child. But when we are not taking responsibility for our own state of resource or fullness or capacity, and we're then handing that over to somebody else, and then ultimately they hand it over to us, and then we hand that over to someone else, and then they hand that over to, and we're all just passing all of these parts around, which creates this mind map of dysregulation or disconnection. And if we just take back the responsibility of, all I need to do is take care of my nervous system, my body, my emotional experience in my relationship to my children, my partner, my mother, my sister, my work colleagues, my leadership, my community, it hands back everything to go into right relationship to itself, which then allows the divine order of creation and nature to be in harmony with how it's aligned and meant to be. And it also hands back power to its right place, because we're not then, on a much bigger scale, we're not handing over our power to systems and to the outside world, which we don't have much. Control's an interesting word, but it kind of fits that piece of like, we cannot control anything outside of ourselves. We can't really influence it that much either. So it's just about, how do we influence our own experience, our own sense of resource, our own sense of grounding, and expand our own capacity, which then in turn gives everybody else space to do the same. And it's much lighter work, actually. It takes away this idea that we're responsible for everything and everyone, and it brings the responsibility in unto the self.
Yeah, I love that. As you were talking there, a couple of things that came to mind was like, that's actually feeling that it's our responsibility to take care of everyone and, meet everybody's needs, and actually trying to control life. That those are all trauma responses, those are not burdens that we are meant to carry. And it's that, yes, it's that agency piece, and like learning how to be informed from the inside out. Because also then what happens is I know what's mine and what's yours and what's in the space in between us. When there isn't that, then there's projection, there's the need to defend, to blame. And then that principle of like reciprocity, of receiving, expressing, giving, taking, letting in, letting out, that is disrupted. And that is such a living principle of life, is that flow between reception and expression. And I think, there is a big piece around doing our own work inside and being devoted to being the most resourced, empowered woman that we can be, and feeling our own sense of agency, which is like, no, I can't control everything that happens to me, but it's that classic, almost cliche quote that's like, but I can be in relationship to how I am responding, and I can learn how to like live my life informed from the inside out, because otherwise life is something that happens to me. And when life happens to me, the only right response there is to react, it's that dynamic. So really just, it's such an important part that I think we, that we see this and we become, devoted to more and more of our like becoming, and more feeling that sense of agency and resourcefulness in our life. And we were chatting a little bit before we jumped on live, and I think a really important piece that we were talking about as well within that is that taking responsibility for oneself. And I use the word agency because I love that word, like having a sense of agency in our life is not about being like perfectly regulated all of the time, or perfectly calm, perfectly zen, that's just not a possibility if you're a human on a human journey. And what often happens when we believe that is that we fall into spaces of needing to control, like, oh, must be regulated all the time, or actually trying to be regulated in any moment is not regulation.
No.
Like presence is the thing, but trying to be regulated in a moment in your life is usually like an internal energetic of like that, which is actually kind of a polarity to regulation.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. It was really interesting when we spoke just before we came on, and I said, one of the real common questions of late that women ask me is like, okay, I really want to work with you, and I want to work and learn how to be regulated all the time. And I'm like, sorry, no, not going to happen. If you're a human on planet Earth and you're having a human experience and you're in relationship to anything and anyone and yourself, you are going to get dysregulated. Even if you cut out all of the external relationships and stayed in your home with yourself, you would also have to disassociate from being in relationship to yourself in order to stay in that false illusion of regulation, because it's in relationship that we move in and out of that. And life is created in a way to bring us into, dysregulated states, if we will. And the journey isn't, for me anyway, is never about like, how do I stay regulated in this? It is this piece around how am I resourced enough so that when dysregulation comes, I can find my way back to regulation or resource in an easeful, grounded, calm, and succinct way. Not trying to rush the process, but ultimately knowing that, when life happens, something gets you, you don't have to stay dysregulated for days, weeks, months, years. You're resourced in a way that allows you to find your way back to yourself, ultimately back to your center, back to presence, back to relationship to self, to check in. How am I feeling right now? What's going on? Where's the ground? Where are my feet? Where's my body? And those simple presencing practices are simple and powerful. Yeah. And I remember on the retreat, I was sharing about a story actually, and I was saying, like, years ago, I kind of was in that energy of like, I am so chill. Nothing ever impacts me. I'm like Zen upon Zen. And it was only, you know, as you move through these different layers that I recognized that was actually another state of dysregulation. I was like constantly playing dead. So I'm not in a regulated state there. And I wasn't resourced. I was like fawning and like almost like so checked out from life and like hiding in the background, or just like play dead and no one will know you're here. And it manifests as this kind of like cool vibe on the outside. And, you know, I got praised for it. So obviously it kept on happening because I was like, woohoo. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, Rebecca's so chill. Nothing ever impacts her. I'm like, oh, check me out. Great. Yep. Oh, got it covered. Tick, tick, tick. And then more recently, I was like, wow, that was a really dysregulated time in my life. But it wasn't a dysregulation that's necessarily so seen in collective experience. Like we can kind of see if someone's in anger or attack or defense, it's like, oh, there's dysregulation there. Or if we have that inside of ourselves, but the opposing, you know, polarized energy of that, which is almost like, and we do this pendulum swing with so much, don't we? Like full on like attack, defend, primal, you know, fight for your life. And then the opposite is like play dead, fawn, and collapse. Like even collapse. Even my breathing was so slow. It was almost like don't see, don't hear, hide the danger. So I was still in a threat response, but it was just the opposite of an attack, you know, manifestation. And I was like, that's still dysregulated state there. I wasn't resourced there. I was completely out of body, dysregulated, you know, not trying to not be in relationship to anything or anyone, even myself, which is why I was just disembodied for a long period of my life. And it's only like more coming into the body and awareness. It's like, oh, it's okay to move from center to there and back, center to there and back, because life is made in that way. When we're in relationship, it's a constant, I like to call it like a dance, right? Something will pull you and it's like, have I got the energy that? Am I resourced for that? I can meet that there. Oh, I can pull that back a little bit now. I need to take care of this now or that now. And it's this beautiful like symphony that's just ever playing.
I really relate to that story because I lived in that place a lot, you know, and actually there can be, and for me, there was a lot of actual spiritual bypassing that was happening there. So I was like absencing, internally absencing. So in that like more sort of dorsal vagal immobility place, and a lot of fawning that often goes with that like freeze kind of immobility. But my internal orientation consciously was that I was really spiritually evolved, you know, and so like things didn't touch me, things didn't get to me. And actually it was because I had transcended my body without any integration of it, you know. And I often make a joke, like my crown chakra sort of just opened like an escape hatch. And I did have a very big spiritual awakening when I was like 19, 20. I trained like to be a level 2 Reiki practitioner. I was heavily into Buddhist meditation. And there's a whole story there. But I had a big spiritual awakening. And actually that was real. Like that it wasn't real, but that there was nothing to ground that expansive energy in the land of my body. And so I lived up and out with no down and in. And that is such a big thing that I see a lot. And I think there is so much spiritual bypassing. And when I reflect, actually, I think a lot of people I was around at that time were also in exactly the same dynamic inside, because often people with a lot of trauma are often attracted to spiritual practices and traditions because it can be a way of transcending your body, which is beautiful. And like there is a part of that that's like, yes, we're not just a body and we have this higher consciousness, but we have a body and we live in a body. And so we have to embody the body as well as the like up and out and the down and in. So I really relate to that because that was like a huge part of my story. And it actually took me quite a long time, like relatively in my life. I mean, I'm 37 now, for me to really like integrate that and like really come into my body in a real place of connection and feeling my wholeness and actually relating to myself. And I have, you know, like I remember just a funny story, you know, at the height of my like spiritual awakening, which was also my spiritual bypassing, you know, my dad just asking me like, are you on drugs? Because I was just so like far away, you know, in the way that like you can be when you're on drugs, like far away. And that was a real moment when I was like, wow, you know, and I was quite embarrassed that he asked me because I was like, no, I'm just enlightened, you know. But it's such a big thing. And I think that piece that you said that I really wanted to just hone was like, you know, it's not about being regulated all the time. And for me, it's like how, and a phrase I often use is like the remedy is relating. Like, how am I relating to myself in moments where I'm dysregulated? Am I relating from a place of this shouldn't be happening, I need to fix this, which is actually that need to control? Or am I relating to myself from a place of like my core intelligence and compassion and that witness consciousness where I can actually see myself in real time and relate to myself in real time without needing to make something in particular happen? That's been a huge part of my journey. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. So interesting. I had my first part of my spiritual awakening at 19, actually, through a trauma of my mum passing away. And then, you know, tried to integrate that for some time, but I wasn't having any spiritual practice, didn't even know what yoga was at that time. So it was a very hedonistic period in my life. And then I had like the biggest kind of one in my mid-20s, again, with another huge trauma. And that was exactly the same. Like the lid popped open and I was gone for a really long time. And so I recognize in that. And yeah, I mean, I often say, you know, if we were in a real time of great stress in my family system, and so like my dad and aunties and uncles were just really focusing on my sister's wellness at that time, so that it kind of went a little bit uncovered. Like I could kind of go under the radar with it. But I was like, it wouldn't have happened if my sister wasn't so unwell. But I have to say, if this would have happened at any other time, like my family would be questioning what is happening to Rebecca. But it kind of allowed it to go hidden because they were just so fixated on the task in hand, so to speak. And I was just like, yeah, completely gone. And, you know, it took even many, many years to find that integration and slowly and surely. And like with you as well, that piece, like it was so real. And that place that I went to is real. There's no kind of like dishonoring that or saying that it's, you know, false, or it's the mind making things up, or it's an illusion. Like it is an absolutely real realm in which we often go to, but it isn't this realm, and it isn't the realm of this body. And for me, it bred more separation. It was like, how far can I get out of myself and separate from, we know this term is spiritual bypassing, but separate from my feelings, from my emotions, from all my relationships, from my body, from any kind of pain, from any kind of suffering. And it's like, well, up here in, you know, and I would find teachers that supported my unconscious ethos of, well, this is enlightenment, this is evolution. It's like up in the quantum, nothing of that pain but exists. So just stay there and everything. And it's like, that is so real. And so is the body.
Yeah.
And for me, that journey of integration really began when I met my partner. And, you know, sometimes we would have conversations and he would say, are you here? Sometimes you look so vacant. And I used to think I am so present in this moment. And I recognize now I was like so not there. It was like wide-eyed, left the body, the shell of Rebecca is here. And he's, you know, and he was the first one to start to really like speak into it, I guess, and say, like, I don't think you're here right now. I'd be like, I'm so here. And it's like, I can't feel you hit. And then there was this real dance of like me believing I was, him feeling I wasn't. And then when I'd like drop back in eventually, and then all the emotion would come up, I'd be like, wow, I was definitely not in that conversation. I was not with you at all. And I'm here now because I'm in the feeling state of being human.
Yeah.
Big journeys, I know.
Yeah.
Which for me, you know, just informs my work so deeply of supporting women to come in and down and connect back into that descending flow inside of themselves. Not because that upward moving energy is wrong or bad or isn't correct or right. It has its right place. But we're living in a world that is like up and out, go, 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 on the trajectory of this line, make it happen yesterday. And it's such a fast-paced, like pranic energy. And so to bring the women that I work with into that more like apana, that downward flow, descending feminine, so that there's balance and harmony inside of the body and the self, it actually allows us to rise more in our consciousness and our awareness, because we've got that descending flow of connection, root and body and earth.
Yeah. And I think in my work, I also really link that to the piece around, actually, for so many women especially, they don't know how to be in the like healthy expression of a fight response, which is that up and out, but not in like a frantic way. It's the up and out from the deep roots. It's like the fierce kind of lioness roar. It's like, I'm here and I'm taking up space and I'm going for what I want in the world because I fucking deserve it and I can. You know, it's that real like power from a deep place of like rootedness and sovereignty. And I think, which is so connected to boundaries actually. And like, I feel myself and I'm inhabiting my energy field fully. And that's really what a boundary is. It's like a full energy field and it's a transmission of that. And so people feel you. And when they feel you, like there's a natural authority that happens. There's like a natural kind of energetic space that you're inhabiting. And it's that, you know, we set that standard often for ourselves in terms of, you know, how people relate to us, from, you know, how we are able to feel ourselves and transmit our energy and feel other people within that process. And I think that, you know, it's boundaries are very connected, like in my work with the nervous system, to that, like the rooting and the like deeper embodiment and the capacity to actually like be with some intensity from that place of rootedness and speak our truth. And because even things like taking up space, speaking your truth, letting your weird come out, you know, your unique you, like that has charge. Like energetically, there is charge to that. It's not a neutral thing. And many women don't know how to like hold safely in the like recesses of their body the charge that comes with actually me claiming space and speaking my opinions and saying what it is I think. It's like on a level of like the body and the nervous system, there's this kind of safety mechanism that can come in where it's like that intensity or that up energy is dangerous because I don't know how to resource it and be in that from a place of power. And that's something I sort of teach and reference a lot in my work, because, and often doing things like actually like animalistically embodying our fight response, you know, which is that. And that's been a big part of my journey as well. And it's can be the antidote to all the fawning and like the must please. I must be who you need me to be in this moment, must not, you know, rock the apple cart. I think that's the saying, must not rock the boat, you know. So that is such a huge collective thing, I think, also that I see in so much of my work with women. It's like, oh, and when often we do practices and exercises around that, women are like, am I allowed to do this? Is this okay? You know, it's really fascinating.
Yeah. Yes. I love it. I love it all. And really sensing that. I can see it just like with the women that I know that are in my work and in my world. And yeah, that power and that charge that comes from embodying the no as a complete sentence. And, you know, I recognize very deeply in my own patternings from of course, childhood, around like, what does this situation need me to be? And I'll be that in order for it to be smooth, or in order for there to be harmony, or in order for there to be balance, or in order to feel safe, or so that I'm not abandoned or I'm not rejected. So I belong. What do I need to be for you? So I belong to you ultimately. But in that, we abandon the belonging to the self.
Yeah.
And that, I have come to realize, is the deepest pain of them all. And for me, in my own psyche, it was woven in that, like, if I don't belong to, you know, fill in the dots of whatever it is externally, I'll feel this pain. So I, like, many years of my life, continually, I would abandon myself into the other or others or the external, and feel this sense of, oh, I belong now. But there was still pain there. And I was like, why is there still pain there when I've done the thing? And it was like, wow, because I have left myself over and over and over again. I do not belong to me anymore. I belong to this idea or this illusion that I've placed on this external relating experience with, whether it's a person, a place, an experience, a job, you name it. But the pain still lives there because it's the abandonment or the leaving of the self that is the deepest pain of all. And actually, when we come back in, it's like full circle. Actually, when we come back into right relationship to self and resourced, and like, I'll take care of this here, and it allows others to take care of that there, we all belong. Yeah. Because we're woven into this greater tapestry of wholeness where separation doesn't exist. And in that, there is a state of belonging.
Yeah. And, I think there is no belonging without authentic expression, because any acceptance you get when you are in that mode of being who you think people need you to be loved, to be accepted, you are only ever being loved or accepted for a censored version of yourself. And there can be no like deep, like innate sense of I am loved, because we're not authentically expressing. And I really feel when you speak about just the pain of that. And I think that's one reason I'm, just so passionate about helping women to do that, because there is no belonging without being able to authentically express yourself, say a no or a yes from a place of like feeling oneself and not ambivalence, or not like inhaling my no or inhaling my yes, like there is no belonging without that. And belonging is like, that's what we're here for, right? That is it. So it's just a fundamental, it's like so important that we all learn to, stand in that place of sovereignty and feel ourselves in real time and express ourselves from a place of like, what is actually true to me right now, and be in the sovereignty of that, which means that even if it's something that's inconvenient, even if it's an opinion that people are not going to like me saying right now, I honor it because that's the truth that's moving me in this moment.
Yeah, amazing. It reminds me of this piece that came into me actually, and when I was in a therapy session, and I was like, it's totally okay to not agree with people. And it's like, how did I not know that? And obviously you can know these things in a mental way, but to truly land in my body, and I was like, it's actually totally okay that I don't agree with my partner on things, but we're still connected. We still will be in relationship with each other. We still love each other, and we just don't agree on some things. There was this young, very, very young, unintegrated part of me that believed I needed to agree with everything that he agreed with or believed in order for there to be connection.
Yeah.
And that disagreement created disconnection.
Yeah. And
when that like baby part was reintegrated, it's like a new vibe going on. I'm like, no, I don't agree with that actually. It's like, oh my God, okay. And actually he really enjoys that much more because it's the authentic piece. And he's like, oh, I can really feel you now, rather than the part that's just like, oh yeah, I think that too. And it allows for some really great conversation.
Yeah, I think when other people don't agree with us, if we can still feel ourselves and feel them, within that, there can still be like reciprocity, even in disagreement. But it's when like I need you to agree with me so I feel like an okay human, or I still feel good. And when you don't agree with me, it's like a threat to my identity as good, as lovable. That's when I can't feel myself anymore, and I can't feel you. And that place of like, all I can do is absence or react, like go in and shut down, or go out and like need to protect and defend myself, which is such a common relating dynamic, like in all aspects, but I think especially in intimate relationships, where it's like, disagreements happen, and can I feel myself and can I feel you? And then a disagreement is just, okay, we don't agree. Why do we have to?
Yeah. And that piece around like, making something wrong in order to make the self right, because it's the ego essentially. But, well, that's wrong because I need to prove that I'm right in order to stay safe in my belief. And sometimes it's okay to have a belief, to go all the way around the houses in questioning it, getting curious about it, getting everybody else's opinions, ideas, to arrive right back to where you started. I believe that is a really healthy journey to go on around our beliefs and identities and what we stand for.
Yeah.
And curiosity, creativity, and that openness is what I would call a regulated or a resourced place within. Yeah. The ability to get curious about, why do I think that? Wonder why that came up, and have all that internal experience, even to arrive right back to like, no, that's just true for me.
Yeah.
That's how it is. And you can really find it as like, actually, it's not just a reaction or an imprint or an impression. It is true for me. And I know that because I've been on this big journey around it. And that allows that relating piece to be really powerful in that as well.
Yeah, it's a huge sign of emotional maturity. I think that, like, not being so identified with your beliefs that you can never allow your space, the openness or the like relationality with another human being, to be curious about another perspective that may shift your belief. That's a very immature, as a sign of like emotional immaturity, to not be able to be curious about ourselves and the things we're identified with and the beliefs we hold in that way. So I'm a big believer in that. And just curiosity is so healing. And even that is applied to like, okay, I have this pattern right now and I'm feeling really afraid of like showing up in my business or whatever it might be. Like, if I make that mean XYZ, I'm usually in the past, replaying past. But when I can bring that like witnessing consciousness and be curious of like, oh, isn't this interesting that I want this thing, and yet there's a part of me that's really afraid of this thing. Can I be curious about that? Can I relate to myself within that? That is the remedy, because from that, other things open and blossom. But without that initial like witnessing and curiosity, like no change can happen. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much.
Pleasure. We could chat all day, couldn't we?
I know. It's episode 2 coming soon, part 2. But share with everyone where they can find you, any work or any offerings that you've got live at the moment or in the up and coming months that women can step into.
Great. Yeah. So you can find me on my Instagram channel, which is at Claire_Diane_. I'm on there quite a lot. You can connect with me over my email, which is claire@clairerother.com. My website is clairerother.com. And I am in May. I don't know exactly when this is coming out, but what I am launching next is the next round of my anchored training, which is a trauma-informed certified program to become a trauma-informed coach and entrepreneur. And it's a 6-month program. So that's coming, and it will be round 3. So I'm super excited for that.
Amazing. The 3rd iteration. It will have evolved time and time again.
Yes. Constant refining, which is what I love.
Yeah, me too. The alchemy. Wonderful. Thank you. So we'll pop your links in the show notes, so everyone will have that there, your website, your Instagram. Go and check Claire out. She's amazing. And just a huge thank you for your time, your energy, and your wisdom.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, it's been so lovely to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. If you loved this musing and sharing, I would love for you to share this episode far and wide. You can arrive into all of my offerings at rebecca-wilson.com. Links to dive deeper with me are in the episode notes. Remember, my love, you are here to be the fullest, most potent, powerful, embodied version of you. I am here to guide you into that. Hey love, I'm dropping in here to welcome you to join us in our online community membership, The Village. I created this space for women to gather, to return to themselves, to deepen the connection and the relationship with self, whilst held in a community of like-minded women walking the journey and the path of their own awakening.